first of all, thank you to Philip. Thank you to everyone who is part of VisWise and AFI for giving me the platform to share what I have to share, and also just helping me develop this presentation and guiding me in the process of deciding what to talk about. So really, thank you guys so much for that. Also, thanks to all of you audience members for participating. It's really great that you guys are listening right now because when not in my application process, which I will talk about later, I basically did not even care about the application until November and spring break. So it's great that you guys are taking a first step, and I'm really blessed and humbled to be able to have your trust to share my information. And let me present my screen real quick. So yeah, welcome to my webinar about my experiences at Phillips Exeter Academy and a little bit about why I was accepted. Presented to you by EduMit, AFI, and VisWise Academy, which I think is going to be renamed Impact Academy. But yeah, so welcome. First of all, who am I? Who is Eric Wu? I'm in the class of 2024. I was accepted by both Exeter and Lawrenceville when I applied during my 8th grade year. So when I applied for a freshman position. My hometown is Princeton, New Jersey, which is where Phillips is going to school now. My previous school was a private school in Princeton. Some of you guys might know this. It's called PDS, Princeton Day School. Some of my current hobbies include chess, rapping, business, and entrepreneurship. And a fun fact about me is that I am basically illiterate because I have never finished a single Harry Potter book before. Now, let's talk about a little bit about EduMit. So EduMit is an organization dedicated to basically spreading knowledge to all younger students. When I was going through my application process, it was kind of a very confusing and painful time because I really did not have that many resources. Really, the only people who were willing to get information were really, really expensive high school consultants. And that was just a tool that I really did not want to use. And, I somehow managed to get into Exeter and Lawrenceville, but a lot of my peers, sadly, who are very qualified, didn't get accepted to any schools. And I really think it's just a lack of experience and knowledge and overall just resources, right? And so I really want to help people express themselves and achieve their, to achieve their dream schools, because I really think some people really deserve this. And EduMit wants to basically provide access to education. So as mentioned on our website, the name EduMit is basically spreading education, and we really just want to help anyone we can. We are fully student ran, and the goal is basically for older high school students to teach and advise younger students who are basically around middle schoolers. And we're going to do that through group lessons to maximize the impact of knowledge shared. And also half of our revenue, which is literally just the registration fee, is going to be donated to just charitable causes. And one of our causes that we donated last year, we donated $600, was the All of Us movement, which was an alliance, basically a racial alliance between Asian people and Black people. So now that's what EduMit is. Let's talk about my experience with Exeter now to start the presentation. So I think the 3 main points about my experience with Exeter, I guess the 3 highlights, would be the freedom and independence, school resources, and relationships and connections. Obviously, there's a lot of other good benefits. I mean, something that is a notable snub from the list is just education and the rigorous academic program that my school has and prepares people very well for college. That's what I've heard. So first, I can talk about freedom and independence. So the school's trust in us really enables us to explore. This is I think on the first day of school, one of the deans said to the whole my entire grade, they're at Exeter, we really trust you, and we really hope that you make the right choices, and we operate on the belief that you are making the right choices. So what that means is we really have a lot of freedom, and that helps us explore. But exploring not just in trying what academic pursuits or clubs, but just basically everything, exploring life. Right before this webinar started, Philip was talking to me, and he was he thinks that boarding school students are probably going to have an easier transition to college. It's just because we already have this basically college environment. Obviously, it's not as tough as college, but we're living by ourselves. We live in a dorm. We have advisors, but that's really it. Our parents are not around to tell us everything to do. We don't have strict rules or limits. Like literally, I could walk off of campus right now without like telling anyone. Obviously, some people might think of it as a bad thing, but to me, I think it prepares you for life. Oh, oops, give me one sec. So, yeah, by the school trusting in us, we are allowed to make our own choices, whether that's what to study, what clubs to join, what sports to play, who to hang around with, just how to think and act. Really, it's up to us. And by us exploring, we gain experience that makes us better people and most importantly, more independent, right? More prepared for the real world and for college. So, oh, this slide is really weird. Give me one sec. I don't know what's going on, dude. All right. I don't know why that slide did that, but it's fine. So this is just like just a picture of a bunch of Exeter kids talking, and I actually recognize a few people in this image. They graduated last year, but yeah, just we are allowed to make our own choices, and that really builds character and builds who we are as people in such a wonderful place. Now, the second highlight, I guess, is school resources. We basically have everything we need to thrive. We have such famous alumni and notable people because Exeter provides the resources to make them great. The learning, sports, club environments at Exeter are all amazing, top tier. The average teacher has spent years on years of experiences. Like a lot of my teachers have doctorate degrees. My English teacher, she literally came from Columbia to teach at Exeter. So, the teachers are all very wonderful people. They're all willing to help. And ultimately, they're here for the students. And the student teacher ratio is what, like 1 to, I think 1 to 12. Every class has 12 people, basically. There's a total of over 450 courses to choose from and over 100 clubs to do. So really, we have a lot of options to pursue. And this, kind of builds on the freedom and independence. We have options and we can explore and we can develop ourselves. And we also have over 19 sports to choose from. We also have an endowment of $1.3 billion, which is like, like the net market cap of like a startup, like a unicorn almost. I don't really know the definition, but that's a lot of money, right? And we have a lot of land. So not to be like a gold digger, but money brings good resources, and that's what we have. For instance, our financial aid program, which I'll talk about later on, like people on financial aid not only don't have to pay for school, they always also the school gives them money to buy school supplies. A lot of people I know who are on financial aid, they buy computers using new MacBook Pros, M1 MacBook Pros with the money that the school gives them, because that's the learning resources Exeter thinks they need. Yeah, this is just our beautiful campus. This is also my background. So, yeah, this is our campus. This is only like, I would say like less than half of it. We also have like sports fields and facilities. But yeah, this is kind of what our campus looks like during the fall. And lastly, but I think probably most importantly, is really the relationships and connections that are formed at Exeter. I've been told this by a lot of people, and it's my second year at Exeter, so I'm starting to experience this too. This is really what a lot of people say is the most important aspect of Exeter. Exonians, which are Exeter students, Exonians are what we call ourselves, really have a sense of belonging and community. We really fit together, honestly, not even just Exeter students, faculty, staff, alumni. Like, there's a story. On my first day of like being on campus at Exeter last year, like I just walk in the dorm and like I'm like, okay, like I'm at this new place, right? I walk in the bath, like I set my bags on, I walk in the bathroom, there's a janitor in there. And he was like super nice to me. And it was just like the best thing ever. He was like, hey, like, are you new? I'm like, yeah, like this is my first year. And he's like, welcome to Exeter. And like, just like the act of the janitor, even the janitor is so polite and caring. That just really meant a lot to me, and really just showed me like, wow, like you're actually at Exeter now, and the people are all so warm and kind. And so yeah, and also another part is alumni. Alumni feel as much of a community as part of the community as the students. Another really big advantage of just our school, a lot of other schools don't have this, is that we have vertical housing, which basically means that people of all grades live within a dorm. So what that means is there are 12th graders, 11th graders, 10th graders, 9th graders, all in one dorm. And people can help each other out. We can develop relationships that are not just, oh, everyone in my class, right? Because at the end of the day, when you need help on a math problem and everyone in your grade needs help on that, and you don't have, and all your friends are in your grade, you're not going to be able to ask for help for anyone, right? But if you have a senior who's taking the class like 2 years ago, they can probably give you help. And also, mentorships and just passing down wisdom is what's so important for me about our school. And it really brings out the sense of community. And also that means that students remain in a dorm for their entire time at Exeter, basically. So you really have a connection to your dorm and dorm life. Each dorm's experience is very different, which is really awesome. Yeah, and later in life, the Exeter connection, that's kind of what I like to call it, as basically, being an Exeter student or like alumni really, really helps. Alumni, just a few, include Mark Zuckerberg, Andrew Yang, Tom Steyer, Franklin Pierce, the 14th president of the United States. I mean, he's dead now, so I guess it doesn't matter that much. But just we have so many famous people, capable people, powerful people as our alumni, and that's a great resource to draw from. Let's see, I have a graph on the one, but just I've heard a lot of stories about how Exeter students, they come out of college, they have some like Ivy League degree, but they really can't find a job. And they actually end up getting employed by an Exeter alumni who's like a hedge fund manager on Wall Street or something like that, because alumni really care about the Exeter relationship. And partly I think is just because of how hard it is. People like through the pain and struggle, people just form a sense of community and belonging, and they're like, I really value my time at Exeter. So yeah, another one of our famous alumni is Adam D'Angelo. He's pretty young. He's like 30 something maybe. He's a billionaire now. He's the co-founder of Quora. And I was just like doing research for the presentation the other day, and I didn't even realize this until I read the Forbes article on him. But it basically said like he actually got his start at Facebook, and actually prior to that he met Mark Zuckerberg at Exeter. So Exeter really just feels like a place where just capable, smart people come together and befriend each other and learn together. Another special mention is the Harkness pedagogy. A lot of you guys probably have not heard this. This is like literally a private high school only thing type of learning method. What it is basically, okay, just before I say all of this, just like clear your mind, right? Don't have any expectations of high school, all right? So basically, Harkness is a conversation-based style of learning that every single class at Exeter uses. What this means is there are 12 students who sit around an oval table. We have like special Harkness tables that are like specially designed. So there's 12 seats, 13 seats, 12 seats for the students and one for the teacher. And the teacher doesn't even sit on the head of the table. They just like sit at random places at like random times. And really, all the learning that is done is just a conversation at top on the table. This is a really unique experience that is only able to be provided by schools like Exeter and other private boarding high schools because of the student-teacher ratio, because of the resources, and because of the diversity too. And the conversation really is just the learning. This method really utilizes the talents and diversity of the class. So yeah, we don't have lectures at our school, like 0 lectures. We don't really have busy work either. You don't, in class, very, very rarely you have to like write on a piece of paper or like type on a computer. A large majority of the time, even in computer science class, most of the time I'm looking up from my computer and looking at the faces of the people who are talking, because what happens is the teacher, like what the role of the teacher is, they don't actually tell you information. They ask the group questions. And since the group is like the top 10% of students who apply to Exeter, because Exeter has an admission rate of like 10% now, that means the students are all capable of answering the questions. And through each other's knowledge, the class comes to like a conclusion about the question. And throughout that process of tackling the problem, the students, they learn and they gain this, I guess, problem solving ability. This isn't math, science, English, history, arts even, computer science. Every course we have, we use Harkness. And for math class, for instance, the teacher doesn't really ask questions. We have a specially designed math course curriculum for like all of our courses, and we just we put up questions on the board. We all solve them together. We explain them together, and throughout that, we're learning. And to the parents who are here, you might be a little scared. You might be like, "Oh my God, how are they gonna learn like geometry just talking, right?" But I think the students who are listening right now might kind of understand this, right? Like at Exeter, your peers are going to be so smart and capable and wonderful people, and they together as a team, you guys will learn how to solve the problem at hand. And so really, our learning method isn't just about teaching you things. It's really about developing the students' sense of teamwork, sense of grit, and problem solving and creativity. So that's why I think Harkness is so special. And also, Exeter, there's so much diversity. This is something I forgot to mention. But almost half of the students at Exeter are on financial aid. So it's not just like a school will only.
Shuffling music from your library.
Why is Siri playing right now? Give me one. Sorry, I have no idea why Siri's turned on. But anyways, half of our school is on financial aid, so it's not just a place where it's only rich, really, really rich or famous people. Really, there's a lot of people who are, normal people who have normal upbringings and normal roots, but who have this, quest for knowledge and have this dedication and passion that Exeter saw in them. And also, racially, we're pretty diverse too. We're very diverse in what people do. Like something that I felt at Exeter is that you really can't be the best at basically anything. For me, the only thing that I'm best at in our school is chess. But there's every people of all different talents, different subjects. There are literally math Olympians at Exeter, like people at Exeter who go to Junior Olympics. So everyone has like their own impressive thing that they do, and it's just really incredible to observe that from people. Sometimes learn from them and just be part of this community. Now let's talk a little bit about what Exeter has taught me. So I'm really less than halfway done yet. So I can't say everything that Exeter will teach you in 4 years, but I can say I've already felt so much personal growth, and it's just been an incredible experience. And I feel very lucky to be able to come to a school like this. Firstly, I've learned to treat others well. At Exeter, one of our school mottos is non sibi, which is Latin for not for self. And also another one of our mottos is knowledge and goodness. I think my school really emphasizes just being nice to people, just like pure being nice, not doing it for some favor or any other intention, but just to be nice to people, to help other people because of your passion to improve society. And this treating others well is kind of why I started EduMed and to teach people. It really just comes from a sense of 中文就是大爱. It's like our school really just encourages us to value people, to treat people better, and to be beneficial and useful to society. And I've learned this through so many examples. There has been so many times where I've had to ask someone for help who was older than me, who was in my grade, and they've always actually, I can't think of a single time they were always so kind in helping me, and they really cared about improving me, helping me improve at a certain subject instead of just saying, oh, just to help me. They really care about me. People at Exeter care about each other, and I think there is also just a social obligation that we feel like we have. Another point of advice, or like I guess lesson I've learned, is to be humble and always seek to grow. So really, when I first got on campus at Exeter, I was pretty humble. Like I said before, everyone is always so good at something, and it's very, very hard to be the best at something at Exeter. I used to think that my math was good, my English was good. I used to think I was like, pretty decent at everything I did. I was on like the school soccer team, the school tennis team, and I come to Exeter and I find out, there's math Olympians. There are people who go to Junior Olympics for this. There are people who have won national writing contests. And there's just so many impressive people all around that you can do nothing but be humble and always seek to grow. You know, on the hardness table, you can't just be the only one talking, because most of the time, if you know how to solve the problem so easily, you're probably wrong, right? And just the fact that everyone around Exeter is so impressive, it's just, you know, it's humbling. I can't be arrogant at Exeter, because that would just look very, very bad. So, you know, Exeter has taught me to be humble and always seek to grow, always seek to learn from others, and place yourself as a student instead of always being the, you know, the lecturer, which, you know, is just kind of hypocritical because I'm, I guess, lecturing right now. But don't always seek to be the person telling everyone to do and being arrogant, but just be the person who wants to learn and wants to grow. And it's not just academics, it's also just, you know, internally, like personally, spiritually, always seek to grow and learn and get better. And, you know, number three is be passionate. So a lot of people always ask me about, you know, what is the common trait that you see between Exeter students? What do you notice is like the pattern, right? And, you know, for like my first year at Exeter, I really couldn't tell. But, you know, now in 10th grade, I'm starting to get a sense. And what Exeter students all share is really that they're always active, they're always doing something, and they have drive, and they all have their own passions. Basically, they all have their own grind. And that's really something that I've noticed, you know. Literally at Exeter, we do have a lot of free time, you know. Despite what popular belief, Exeter students, we have free time. But the thing is, Exeter free time is not your public school free time or other free time. It is Exeter free time. And what that means is the free time is filled by clubs, by sports. Even though, you know, it's not taken up by academics, your free time is taken up by your other passions and by your other hobbies and dedications. And it's always there. You always use the time to grow yourself. I mean, not always, right? You're obviously gonna have to like sleep like 8 hours a day. You can't, that's like, you know, not negotiable, not negotiable. But besides that, you know, I would say every Exeter student probably has like 4 to 5 hours of free time a day, like not non-academic time. And, you know, people spend that time playing sports, doing clubs, creating their own projects, their own companies even. I mean, this is kind of illegal, but basically, in ninth grade, me and a couple of my friends who were interested in investing, we just like kind of decided to start a mini hedge fund. And I don't even know why I'm saying this because it's going to be posted on YouTube. But we just like kind of like pulled in all of our money to start like a little fund that we invested in ourselves. And really, like, I really don't think that happens in many places that often. It just felt like people were always interested to pursue their passions and really to give it their best shot. Um, you know, I'm sorry to say that the hedge fund doesn't really exist that much anymore, but we've all moved on to new passions and new interests. And I mean, we all still are interested in investing, and we all do the investment club. But, you know, what I'm trying to say is we always have the sense that we should do something with our time. You know, whether that's reading, learning, um, playing sports, getting ourselves physically better, you know, finding peace, meditating, whatever it is, we are always utilizing our time. Like, obviously not 100% perfectly, but we always have our passions and the dreams that we're chasing. And that drive is what I think is common between like all Exeter students. So really, Exeter has taught me to be passionate, because with passion, you have power. Because without passion, there really isn't that much meaning. And one more thing I mentioned is the tuition. You know, there's 260, there's like 260 members of the audience right now. I think it's safe to assume that not everyone here is like a multimillionaire, right? And, you know, a lot of times, one of the biggest fears about high school, other than, you know, I'm sending my son, daughter out to the place I don't know about, is tuition. Exeter tuition, Choate tuition, Andover tuition, they're all around $50,000, $60,000 per year. And that is a very hefty price tag. Although I think it's worth it because, you know, really only a third, tuition only covers a third of your experience at Exeter. 2/3 of the experience, like 60 something percent, is actually made by donations from alumni and like current students. So really, even though you're paying $60,000 per year, if you're paying the full tuition, you're actually getting every year $180,000 worth of education, because your education is supplemented by the money of generous donors. But if your household income is below $250,000 a year, you can get financial aid. So, half of our school is on financial aid, and $25 million of financial aid is given every year to students, so that they can come to our school. And, students on financial aid also receive, financial aid is a grant, by the way. So you don't have to owe anything. It's not like some college scholarships where you have to pay back the loan. No, it's a grant. If you qualify, you could just come here for free, no questions asked, basically. So people on financial aid also receive yearly stipends for learning materials. That means textbooks, electronic devices. So the example I mentioned earlier, some students who receive a lot of stipend can literally buy a brand new MacBook Pro. So they can buy these resources they need to be at this place and learn at their peak. And 100% of demonstrated need is met, which means if you're accepted by Exeter, no matter how much financial aid you need, Exeter will give it to you in order for you to come, right? Families making less than $75,000 come to Exeter for $0 for free. That's our bar for full financial aid. And then families who are making less than $250,000 a year, they receive financial aid. It's not going to be full, but it's going to be I guess almost like a discount on the tuition. Also, applying for financial aid has a very minimal impact. I know that Exeter used to say on their website that we're need blind, maybe because of COVID and just I guess the financial strain. It might not be entirely need blind right now, but I would say really, if you're a qualified applicant, applying for financial aid or not should not decide your admissions result. If you're qualified, you will get in, regardless of whether or not you apply for financial aid. So I would say if you need financial aid, you should apply for it. And yeah, I just don't be scared of applying for it. Literally half of the students at Exeter are on financial aid, which means they applied with financial aid, which means if you apply for financial aid, you still can get in, and you're probably, if you're qualified, you are definitely going to get in. So, how did I get in? Now that I talked a little bit about my school and the things I enjoyed and why, after hyping it up and talking about all the benefits, how did Eric Wu get into Exeter and Lawrenceville, I guess? So I guess this is our second part of the presentation. First of all, before I even say that, what is the high school application? I know some audience members might already be applying, but some people might just be watching just because they're slightly interested, or because they've seen Exeter on TikTok or something. I don't even know, but really, a high school application. Okay, so first of all, the logistics is, you need you don't really need SSAT scores anymore. That's optional, but you need to submit your school transcript. You need to write essays. You need to do an interview. You need teacher recommendations, and you need a parent statement, and that's it. Just 5 things, and you're done. When I first started applying, I thought it was going to be terrible. I had to do so much stuff. It was like having a job, but obviously it's not like having a job. You just have to submit 6 things. So really, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying don't be scared of it. Everyone can do it, especially if you start now. You're going to have so much time. I started applying way later than this. So you guys are all in a great position if you decide to really start applying right now. But what really is a high school application? And I would say it's really just a way for schools to find out who you are and whether or not they think you will benefit the school and the school community. I think Philip could probably also agree to this, as college applications are very similar to this too, right? Really, these institutions, they care about themselves, right? I'm not saying they don't care about any other things, but I'm saying just they do care about themselves. And them admitting you is because they think that you will benefit the school. Why would the school admit someone who they think will make the school worse, right? So, that comes in a lot of different factors. That has to do with, how good of a person you are, what you will do to the campus atmosphere, how you will affect other students. Will you help people out, or will you be selfish, right? That includes, will you play for Exeter sports teams, right? Sports recruits. Will you help Exeter win games against Andover, win football or soccer against Andover, right? That's important. Would you bring like pride and honor to the school? Will you like join national contests in your school's name and do that for them? Will you, I guess, create change within the school? Are you like socially conscious, and are you sympathetic of different people and their situations? Um, are you going to donate to the school later on in life, right? Do the schools think you're a charitable person and you will succeed later on, so you would want to donate to the schools? Because I mean, a majority of Exeter, like I said before, is run by alumni donations. Like we survive on alumni donations. So do they think, as an alumni, you will want to and be capable of, donating money? Obviously, it's, you don't need all these factors. Really, one is enough for the school to want you, right? But what I'm trying to get at is, schools want to know who you are in order to see how, you will benefit the school and how the school can help you on your journey. So that's what everything is about. It's not about, oh, who the school is. It's not about who your neighbor is. It's about who you are. So really expressing, if you're the parent watching, who the student is, right? If you're, so, if you can understand that concept, writing essays, doing interviews, that's all going to make more sense. Really, you just have to express yourself, your mindset, the way you think, how you learn, and what you do. And that's who you are, right? If you can express that to the school and the school recognizes that and they see potential in that, they'll accept you. Obviously, this is very broad and big, but if you understand this idea, I think it will make like basically every single part of the process a lot easier. I know I'm going pretty, hello. I know I'm going pretty fast. I'm sorry for that. I'm just, I guess, a pretty fast talker. I'm trying to slow down. But, if you have any questions about anything, if you're curious, just make sure to send it in the chat or Q&A. I think both work. And I'll answer the questions later after I'm done with the presentation. All right, so let's talk about my application. To be honest, I literally only had 2 solid extracurriculars, basically 2 extracurriculars, yet it still worked. At least in my opinion, it worked. So here were my 2 passions. One was chess, and one was rapping. Chess, I've played for 7 years. Every single other weekend, I went on like a 1-day or 2-day tournament. So I spent like a majority of my free time playing chess. I was the 5-time New Jersey chess champion for my grade, and I also helped my middle school win a national championship. I was the 2nd highest scorer on my team. And for rapping, I rapped for less than 2 years. I started rapping in 7th grade. When I was applying, I was in like 8th grade. So maybe like around 1 year when I was applying. And my songs had a pretty decent amount of streams. I had 2,000 total plays on my songs, which is, not terrible, but it's also not amazing, right? I'm not going to be recruited as a rapper. And really, rapping was just for fun. So now let me talk about the tale of Eric Wu's application process. So I think, I don't even remember the exact months, but over the summer before 8th grade, my parents were like, Eric, I think you should just like try like taking like a SSAT practice test to see where your academics are. Because we want you to get you prepared for 8th grade, be prepared for high school, no matter where your high school is. We just want your academics to be good, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'll take an SSAT practice test. I get the practice test back and I scored like an 1800, which is like, I don't even know, which is like 50 percentile maybe. And my parents were like worried. So they're like, okay, we'll just get you like an SSAT coach, and like, but they'll be your academic coach at the same time, and they'll just, help you become a stronger student. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like I want to get better grades. I want to be a pretty strong student. So they got me to do basically SSAT training camp, and not really training camp. It was just like I had a tutor who helped me out with the SSATs. And, after that, I took the SSATs, and my parents just said, you could just take the SSATs to really get a measure of where you are and among your age group, and to see like how well you progressed. And so I'm like, all right, sure, right? So I take the SSAT, and they're like, okay, we might use this to apply. By the way, I got I got a 97 percentile on my SAT. So they said, maybe we'll use this to apply, right? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so, to the next like couple weeks, they're just every week they're gonna be like, oh, you should like just like research some schools, look at Groton, look at Exeter, look at Lawrence, just like read their website a little bit. I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh my god, this is so annoying. Like I don't wanna I don't wanna do it. I just wanna focus on my grades. It's 8th grade right now, mom. I'm like a big kid already. So I basically did not research the school like at all. I read like a couple sentences on their websites and I was just like immediately turned off because like I just didn't really care at that point, frankly. But break comes. I don't remember what break it was. I'm pretty sure it was Thanksgiving break. And so my parents just say, okay, let's take a car trip to like New York and up north. Because by the way, I'm from Princeton, New Jersey. I think I said that already. But so they meant like New York, Massachusetts, around that place. And I was like, okay, sure. And then they signed me up for 2 high school interviews, basically without my consent. There was Hotchkiss and St. Paul's. So we go on this little car trip. I guess I get swayed, basically kidnapped to go there. And then I show up to Hotchkiss. I'm like in a bad mood, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get into Hotchkiss. Like I'm not good enough. And honestly, I just didn't have confidence. I didn't really care because I feel like I just was not gonna get accepted. But then we show up on campus, we do a tour, and we have the interview, and I'm like absolutely mind blown. Like if you ask a lot of boarding school students, they'll all say that Hotchkiss has the most like beautiful campus. And like just by looking at the Hotchkiss campus, I was just so stunned and awed. And then after the tour, meeting the high schoolers, I felt like an eerie sense of belonging. Like I've been like, I don't know, that I just somehow belonged there. I really can't describe how it felt, but it was like I had a feeling that like this was what I wanted, and that was like where I wanted to be because the school was such a cool place. The facilities were all amazing. The classrooms had big glass doors that were, I guess, just majestic. And my tour guide, which was a student, was super helpful and kind. And I saw a couple of the students, and they were all just like they had a good vibe and I guess feeling to them. So I was like, I'm interested in Hotchkiss. I want to play. Oh, we're gonna be running short on time. It's fine. I try to speed up a little bit. So, after that Hotchkiss, and also by the way, the interview went very well. Like I was so scared for the interview because I never done any sort of interview up till that point. Like, so I'm just completely scared. I have no idea what I'm like gonna go into. And I go into the interview, the lady is a I think Asian American or Taiwanese American. And she was super kind to me. And it was just a great talk. It was like a talk between 2 old friends. And I felt really like Hotchkiss used to seem so far up away, but now it seems really tangible and reasonable for me. It's within my reach. And so from then on, I really felt passionate about this. St. Paul's interview also went really great. I just felt like, I had this sense of like a flame burning in me, seeing that these incredible places were so incredible, yet I felt like I had the potential to reach them. And that's really what ignited me to really try hard on my essays and just the entire process because I had a passion for this. I wanted to choose my own fate and get into one of these schools. And really, I was telling myself, if I get into a single school, I'm gonna be so proud of myself. Because up to that point, I thought I was like an average student. I had like 80 people in my grade at my old middle school. I was maybe top 5 in terms of academics, maybe. So, and our school was not even like the strongest academically. So I just felt like it was out of my reach originally. But after the tour, I just had a sense that I was able to do this. So I tried hard. I really started writing my essays around like winter break. That's when that was like my grind mode, all locked in, like not going into town or playing around or fooling around. I'm just like in my house, just like writing essays because I really want this. And I submit the essays and I wait like 2 months until like March 10th is when the results come out. And I the night before I was originally gonna just like stay up all night and do like pull an all-nighter and just to see the results. And really I was expecting like maybe one school to accept me. I really didn't know. But I kind of just like slept after like 12 and because I was just not able to pull an all-nighter, and I just like the next day the results came out I think like at 6 a.m. or something. I wake up at 8, right? And like and then my dad just comes in my room and he's like, Exeter enrollment's full, and I'm just like, holy like moly, like what, like does that mean I got accepted or rejected by them? Like I was just in such a so much shock and disbelief, and I was just like, this doesn't feel real. Like it just I I don't know. I was just so ecstatic and blessed and humbled to be able to get into 2 of the top 10 private high schools in America. And, Exeter basically ties with Andover for the best school in America, like every single year. So it's just like to be able to get into those, I was just like, this is crazy. Like it really felt like a dream. Like it felt like there was no way I was actually gonna be like an Exeter student. Like that was just like without like I didn't even think of that. When I applied, Exeter was like a reach school. Like the only reason I applied to Exeter was because they had a chess team. Like that was basically it. Because I felt like I just had no chance with it otherwise, and it felt so far. It was number one, like the best private high school in America, like really. But I get it. I'm super happy, and yeah, that's kind of like my application story. I think what really made it special was the fact that I was like did not care at all at the start, and throughout the process, I got my own drive and my own passion and my own, I guess, flame within me ignited, and I wanted it so bad that at the end I really luckily achieved it, and to this day I'm still blessed to be able to come to Exeter. So let's do an analysis of why I think I was accepted. Obviously, there's many factors. It's not just for 3 reasons. At least, hopefully, I think hopefully it wasn't just for 3 reasons. But I think the 3 main reasons was number one, the chess team. Exeter is one of like the only schools with an actual chess team. We basically go to nationals every year, and Exeter knew that I would improve the chess team. Because last year a lot of seniors left, so Exeter probably knew that, and they needed new chess players to, I guess, be the next cycle of the program. And I'm currently the best chess player on campus. I'm pretty sure, just like based on my rating. I don't want to just say that, but statistically proven, I would say. Also, another big reason was my demonstrated traits. So rapping showed my passion, self-drive, and boldness, and chess taught me many mental skills. Sorry for the title there, by the way. Um, it's not just what I did, because I mean, I was a bad rapper. Like my songs were like terrible. Like I still am bad, right? But rapping really showed the schools, my passion, my self-drive, my boldness. The fact that like literally no Asians do rap, but I was able to do it. Exeter saw that I was brave and I was able to break stereotypical boundaries. And that's what they appreciated. Chess, it literally helps with like every single thinking skill. Critical thinking, creativity, calculation, logical thinking. I guess almost like trying to mind read people, not really mind read, but like yeah, kind of like critical thinking, being able to adapt to situations very fast, planning. Chess taught me so many mental skills too. And also another factor is probably my personality. My interviewer really liked me, and because I showed my humor, my sympathy, and my sense of morality. And my matureness and wisdom, I think, were also 2 of my advantages. Actually, my interviewer is now like my dorm like kind of advisor right now on my floor, which is really interesting. But yeah, I think these are the 3 main reasons why I was accepted. Everyone gets accepted for different reasons, so don't feel like you have to mimic my things. And please do not just do rap because I did it. That's a very bad decision. But this is an example, right? You have to have reasons why you stand out. Because if you're part of the 50%, you're I mean, on everything, you're not going to get accepted. Exeter has like an acceptance rate of 10%. So you have to really think about how you are unique and how you stand out. I mean, when I was accepted, I think the admissions rate was around like 13%. But anyway, it's a pretty low rate. And you just have to figure out how you stand out. Don't just apply and just say I have good grades, because chances are most of the applicants have good grades. So right then you're not 10%. So just think about how you can really express yourself and make yourself stand out. The more you express yourself and the more you talk about what things matter to you individually, the more you stand out. And that's really the only way to get accepted, unless you are some like incredible genius or like some like national award winner. You really have to just like talk about like your mindset and your traits and your skills that you've developed, so the school recognizes the potential in you. All right, I think we're ready for the Q&A. Actually, before that, I just want to show 2 more slides. So I have a program coming up later on, and starting November 19th to November 21st. It's going to be just like a high school application introduction. So if you guys are interested in that, please make sure to visit the website. I'm not gonna, that's just a quick shout out to my program, I guess. And here's my contact info if anyone needs it. Well, I'm probably gonna display this at the end of the webinar too. But yeah, I think that's what I have for my presentation. Q&A right now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eric. Let me shift this over to.
Wow, it's been 50 minutes. Perfectly on time. Wow.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good timing. Okay, so we have a lot of questions for you. And I'm gonna start off with one that seems really popular, which is how much sleep do you get on
Oh, okay.
average?
I would say I'm not good at getting sleep, and I average, like, to be very, very honest and open, I get around like 7.5 hours. And I know that's very bad, and I am totally capable of getting 8 hours, but sometimes I'm just like up and I have friends, and it's just like, I just end up sleeping pretty late. And also the thing is my schedule, everyone has free blocks. My schedule, there's literally, I have no sleep-ins. So I have to basically wake up at like 7:30 every single day. So, I got like 7.5 hours of sleep on average. It's not the terrible things that you hear about Exeter where people say I only had like 5 hours of sleep or 3 hours. Really, no, that, like, if you manage your time well, you probably even get like 9. If you like cared about sleeping, you could probably get 9 if you wanted to. But it's really just about, managing your time and building good habits.
Honestly, that's a better answer than I expected. 7.5 hours is definitely not bad.
I
So
mean,
go.
I guess I've heard that like it decreases as you I guess grade rank up in the grade, but I really don't think I really think it's possible to get good sleep if you have good habits.
Gotcha. Okay, so going along with that, what do you think the workload is like generally? How many hours do you spend on homework? Or
Yeah.
I don't know, time talking with teachers, stuff like that.
I would say every day I would have a homework load of around 3 to 4 assignments, and assignments usually take around like 50 to like 70 minutes. So I would say around like 4 hours homework per day. Some people spend a lot more time on homework every day. Some people spend like less. I would say the average for my grade is around like 5 hours, just because everyone is procrastinating and multitasking at the same time. But like I said before, like if you have good habits, and which is something I'm trying to work on too, I think I could probably spend less time on my homework, be more efficient, not just like rush over it, but like be more efficient and like manage my time well and be very concentrated. I could probably do my homework in like 3.5 hours every day, probably.
Do you know what the grading distribution is like? Like, is there any sort of grade deflation or inflation, or like, how do you get all A's? Like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Um, Here's the real truth, all right? Exeter does not have A pluses. They just don't exist. The highest grade you can get is an A, which is we have a 11-point grading scale. So an A is 11, an A minus is a 10, and B plus is a 9, and so forth, right? There have only been like a few people in Exeter history who have gotten all A's in 4 years. Like I'm talking like 2 or 3 people. And like Exeter's like what, like 200 years of history, 100 something. So it's very, very hard to get all A's, and you really shouldn't be aiming for that. But the good thing is, I've heard that colleges, they value Exeter grades pretty well. An Exeter A will not be considered the same as a, let's say, like other school A, because they understand that Exeter is a lot harder. And actually, one of the benefits about Exeter is that the college counseling office has really good connections with all these other schools, and these other schools recognize Exeter, and they really think about Exeter like separately, because they know the academic rigor of, I mean, Exeter and Andover. They just think of these schools separately. So it's really, I'm not gonna say it's fine to get a B, but it's not nearly as bad as getting like a B in a public school. Like people say the grade deflation is like one point. So like an A at Exeter is like a B. Sorry, a B at Exeter is like an A in normal school. I'm not really sure about that. But for me personally, I was like I said before, like I was a good student, I guess, but definitely not like incredible, right? I was like maybe top 5 out of 80 people. At Exeter, I think I'm probably above average, and it's really just because of my habits that I build, and um and yeah, just the habits of my mentality. So graded distribution is pretty interesting because sorry, something just knocking on the door. It's fine. Because the different departments grade differently. So English department is really notorious for giving out really harsh grades. Not very harsh, but usually one class gets 2 A's out of 12 people. And there's like maybe like 4 A minuses, and then the majority, the grade that I think the average grade at Exeter is around like a B plus, just like average, not just in English, like for like all classes, like the average GPA of a student is around 9.8, which is like B plus, a little higher than a B plus. So I mean, it's not as bad as what it used to be. I've heard it used to be much worse, like B minus or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's pretty feasible to get pretty good grades. Just don't think of Exeter grades as other school grades, and don't be like horrified if you get like a B plus, because like B plus is honestly like considered like pretty good at Exeter. And another thing is, like on one of the orientation days, one of the deans of Exeter was talking to my class, and they're like, a lot of you guys have gotten A's all your life. That's kind of why you guys are here. You know, you've excelled at your school, you've been the top of your class, but at Exeter, you'll realize that there's other letters in the alphabet. Basically alluding to the fact that, you know, teachers aren't afraid to hand out C's, B's. Like I know people, myself included, have gotten like 60 somethings on quizzes and tests before. Like it's totally possible. Like and it's just it will happen. But the whole point of Exeter is, you know, the freedom and independence. You get to explore and you make your own mistakes, but the end goal is that you learn from it. And so at the end, I think, you know, Exeter grades, they're going to be much harsher than normal grades, but colleges will know that if that's what you're concerned about. And really, it's all about, you know, helping a student improve.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. One of the questions is about whether you think that Exeter prepares you for college. And so I'm just going to help answer that because I think a lot of things that you're describing, such as like, I don't know, especially like in the humanities classes where it's very hard to get an A, like two people out of the class get an A, but it's like about the learning, about the talking, that about the discussion. That's very similar to what we have at Princeton in our writing seminars. So you just kind of forget, you have to forget about the grades. You got to focus on like the actual topic and just like, I don't know, the process. Otherwise, you're not going to survive. um, okay, so
Yeah.
let's go through some of the like quick questions.
Wait, can I
Just
add
like,
on to your question real quick?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with your answer, Philip. And another thing is, one of my mentors who graduated both Exeter and Yale said that Exeter was 6 times harder than Yale. So that should just say something. But yeah, yeah, we can move on.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go through some quick questions, just like yes, no answers, so we can
All right.
get through some of them. Well, one of the questions is, does Exeter offer AP classes, and if so, how many like do you like would are you taking or would you expect to take?
Exeter doesn't offer AP classes, but we have AP testing available at our own school. But the thing is, you know, like I said before, colleges realize how hard Exeter courses are, and we have college level courses at our school. So
Uh-huh. Okay, so do you think that application for financial aid would hurt someone's chances to get in, just
I
based on
would
your own
think
experience?
I think it would hurt very, very minimally. I
Uh-huh.
personally did not apply for financial aid, but I would just say, like, if you're gonna get in, like, financial aid would not be the reason that you would not get in.
Hmm. Got it. And did you attend a private elementary school or middle school? Or did you go to a public or did you have public education before Exeter?
Yeah, I've been in private school from second grade. First grade I was in China. So yeah, I've been private school from PDS all my life, basically.
Hmm. So how many hours of classes do you have per day, or does it depend on like the day?
Yeah, let me check that right now. I think I have around, I've calculated this before, like
Mhm.
um 4 classes on average every day, or maybe something like that. 4 classes every day. Every class is 50 minutes, so that's around like 200 minutes of, I guess, class every day. But on top of that, you have sports, which take up a lot of time for other people, and sometimes you can select more than 5 courses that you're taking. So, for instance, some people have health.
Mhm.
People have health once a term per year. I
Mhm.
mean, one term per year. So little things like that happen, but I think I would say 200 minutes is the bare minimum.
Got it. And so like you mentioned like I don't know, having time outside of class to do like sports or something like that. Do you do any sports? And just for you in general or for like the average student, how much time would you pour into sports?
Yeah, I would assume that the average student does sports. For me, I'm doing a club sport right now. I'm doing club squash, so that doesn't really take that much time. It's like 150 minutes per week, which is very, very light. Um, but during the winter, I'm gonna play squash, and that's going to take, I think, around, oh no, maybe like 2 hours per day, maybe. I'm not completely sure. I think it depends on the sport, but around 2 hours a day, and then maybe once a week there's a competition. So that's a lot of hours, like maybe like 6 hours once a
Mhm.
week um plus the 2 hours for the other 6 days.
Do you does Exeter offer like some special sports? Like, for example, I went to a public high school and middle school. We didn't have like water polo, we didn't have squash even. So like, do you know like what sort of sports or just general activities that Exeter offers that you know other people don't offer, like chess clubs?
Yeah, so we have like I said before, we have 19 sports and we have over 100 student run clubs. We have water polo. Basically, the only sport that I can think of that we don't have is fencing, and I have no idea why we don't have fencing.
That's really
But we
strange.
have water polo, we have swimming and diving, we have track and field, we have squash, we have lacrosse, field hockey, ice hockey, soccer. I can name like going on and on. But we have a lot of sports. If I would say 95% or like 99% of the people who play sports will be able to play sports at Exeter.
Oh, Eric, do you want to switch to your QR code for EduMint?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay,
Sorry, I just had my schedule pulled up because I was checking that. Okay, let me revert back
no
to
problem.
my slides. Yeah, this is my QR code. That's to get into like the Edumate group chat. It's totally free. It's just where we exchange information. I get you guys updates on what I'm going to be teaching. For instance, I sent this presentation in the group chat, so things like that. But yeah,
Mm, Okay, so a lot of parents are really concerned about uh, two topics. One is time management and one is mental health. So let's start with mental health. So there's a question that asks, did you have difficulty transitioning into like boarding school life, something like that? And if there is like some sort of mental health issue, how is like the counselor or like with that sort of system there? Does it accommodate you well?
yeah. So for me personally, the transition was very good actually, because I came from a public middle school. I think that definitely made it easier. But I think what really made the transition better was my mentality. A lot of people come to Exeter. I mean, some people come to Exeter thinking, "Oh, I still gotta be the perfect student and get all A's," which, like I said before, is kind of almost impossible. I gotta like do this, do that. People hold too high of a standard for themselves, and they end up, I guess, not doing well. And really, like that's what Exeter wants you to do, really. They want you to, stumble a few times and they want you to learn from that. And so personally, I didn't really, I stumbled a few times and I was completely fine. One of the essays I actually wrote about for my Exeter application was that like I just didn't really fear failure that much because I've lost like over 200 times in chess before. So I take L's pretty easily, but obviously I don't try to take losses. But if I take a loss, I am going to learn from it and get up and just keep going, right? So for me, I had the mentality where it's like, obviously, I'm going to try my best academics, but I'm not going to expect myself to get all A's or even all A minuses. I would just do my best and not worry about the rest. That rhymed. Anyways, um, yeah. So I think for me personally, the transition was pretty good. I know that I mean, Exeter is a pretty big private high school, so there's like 1,100 people. There are some people with mental health issues, but like that happens in every school. And I would personally say that our counseling and psychology services, CAPS, which is what we call them, is pretty qualified. I mean, I think they're all full-time. They all have education in counseling, and I think they work. I can't say for sure because I mean I didn't really have that much of an issue, but also a big thing is counseling and psychology is only a part of how Exeter supports you. A big part of it is through your advisor, your teachers, your friends, your peers, right? There's a big support group that can be formed, and as long as you're willing to reach out and you have friends and you build this net and you feel like safe to share information. Honestly, I like you probably wouldn't even need counseling and psychology to you wouldn't get to that point.
Mhm. So a lot of it is like you have to adjust a little bit to it. You have to understand, like, I guess you have to get to know yourself a little bit better. You have to understand that academics and everything, and like, and maybe make some friends, and slowly adjust. Is that right?
Yeah, and just don't take it too hard on yourself. Like a lot of people say like they really like my mentality, and I like it too. I'm generally a pretty happy person, and obviously bad things happen to me too, but I just think about it through more of a positive light, and I don't really let, I guess, things bother me too much.
Gotcha.
It's a difficulty for some other people, but just thinking that like really, if you're not going to care about it 5 years from now, don't waste 5 minutes thinking about it now.
hmm So can you tell us a little bit about your time management, especially like with screen time? Because like if you're on your own and you have to manage yourself, and that's, I guess, for some parents, like people going to ninth grade still seem like a little baby to them. So yeah, so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I would say my personal screen time management is not the greatest, but I'm very aware of it. So I'd say like I don't really waste too much time, although I waste some time on my phone. Um, I guess the best way to explain this is that it's really just all about who you are, who yourself is, and like if a person is going to be addicted to their phone, they're going to do it whether regardless or not they're an Exeter, right? Like even in your own house, like if your child is addicted to their phone, like it's very hard to stop them. But the thing at Exeter is just like we like again, like I said, this support group, right? And we have friends, and for me, like one of the things that my friend group is pretty aware of is that we like check our screen time like once a week when we're eating lunch, and we're like, yo, like how much time do you spend? And so we kind of just like check up on each other, and that really holds us kind of accountable. And for me, like I deleted Instagram because I found out I was spending too much time on it, and this has really helped honestly because I'm not really missing out on much. So really, like issues like time management and screen time are not going to be like exacerbated if you go to a private boarding school. Because I mean, when you're in ninth grade, you find ways to get around your parents, right?
Right.
But the thing is, Exeter has great support groups and it has this atmosphere, teachers who will support you and guide you towards the right way. Your friends telling you to not do something is going to affect you much more than your parents are going to if your parents told you to not do the same thing. That's just the brutal truth.
Thank you for that. Um, okay, so we have a question about networking and just I guess contacting alums. Do you stay in contact with the friends that you've made who have graduated? And have you met any alums, I don't know, who are much older and very successful in different fields?
Yeah, I think I do stay in contact. And a funny thing is a couple like a week or 2 weeks ago, my parents went to New York because Andrew Yang had like a book signing. Like I'm low-key an Andrew Yang fan. And so they're like, okay, you signed this book for my son. He's a big fan of you. He goes to Phillips Exeter, and he was like really amazed. And he was pretty supportive, and he signed my book and wrote me a little thing, and he also so I think I mean, Andrew Yang obviously is like kind of like a mega celebrity, so it's not like he would just like give me his phone number. I mean, maybe he would, but for a lot of people, I think the network is very, very strong. Like, for instance, I followed like some random like Exeter alumni who like graduated like 10 years ago, and really on their Instagram bio, the first thing they display is Phillips Exeter, and that really just meant a lot. Their high school is so important to them that they displayed it as the first thing in their Instagram bio. And since I've only been here for 1 year, there's only one class of seniors who follow me on Instagram, and that's the class that graduated last year. But it's great to say that a bunch of people in Ivy League schools follow me. Like I'd say like over a dozen. So I think we do stay in contact, and people are always willing to help. For instance, one girl who was Model UN co-head who graduated and went on to Harvard. Like this summer, I asked her like, should I do her Model UN or debate, because I was trying to decide. And she like really took the time to like talk to me and give all the pros and cons. And she really cared, even though like Exeter was in her past and she was really going to Harvard. So yeah, I think the network is really great. Also, we have an alumni office, and if you need to contact alumni, I think you just contact the alumni office and they'll give you the contact information.
Okay, that sounds pretty awesome, actually.
I
I
mean,
think,
Princeton probably has that too. So
yeah, I mean, it's just because I didn't attend like a private school like that. So to me, it's like I'm still learning like what resources we have at an institution like Princeton. And I'm
yeah,
just saying, wow, Exeter, you kind of already know what you're doing if you went to Exeter, and instead of where I'm just trying to figure everything out at Princeton. um, there's one question about the Exeter summer school or summer camp. Do you know about that? And
yeah,
if
I
you
do,
do,
and I've had friends who attended it.
did you hear like good things about it, bad things about it? Do you think it's worth applying to? If you don't know much about it, that's all right too.
I'm just gonna try to give a concise answer because we're kind of running out of time. We're over
Right.
time, but I can save it for much longer if you guys
Mhm.
want. But um, a lot of my friends went to it, and I basically one of my friends uh, went to it who's applying this year. He said it's been a great experience, and literally he doesn't need to do the campus tours or any of that because he already knows so much about the campus. Really, like Exeter Summer School probably isn't going to increase how the admissions office views you, but the fact that you're on Exeter's campus and you're taking Exeter similar to courses similar to Exeter courses, and you're living on the campus means that you know Exeter better. And if you know Exeter better, you know your audience of your essays, of your interviews. And so you kind of get a better idea of what you should write about. And also, it just, you care more about the school and you know more.
Okay. I think that's pretty similar to a lot of the I guess like college summer programs where it's not going to improve your chances drastically if you go, but I don't know, doing so, you get to kind of take a class there, see what university life is kind of like, get to know the campus, talk to the professor, talk to TAs, something like that. Um, so languages. Someone is asking if Exeter offers Mandarin Chinese class, and I'm gonna add on to that because I know that you guys have other languages too that normal public high schools don't have, like Latin and Greek. So can you
Yeah.
speak on that?
Yeah, we actually do offer Mandarin Chinese, and actually I'm taking it right now. I'm on like course 521, which is like one of the highest courses. It's a great program. Most of the teachers are actually like people who lived in China, like Chinese people. So that's also great. I mean, a lot of my friends who are Chinese also take it. I think personally it's a great tool. Chinese is pretty important to me because I want to, be able to speak Chinese and write Chinese and just communicate well in like, I guess, my mother tongue. But yeah, we offer Chinese. We also have a really interesting program called the, I think, Classics Diploma, which is if you take like Latin or Greek for like 3 or 4 years, you're in like this special, like, I wouldn't call it a cult, but like a cult of the school where you kind of get like honors and everything. Basically, like at the end of every year when we have graduation, the people who actually took Latin and Greek were like a olive branch on their head, and they like dress and stuff when they like received a diploma. So I mean, that I guess counts for something. I think we have like, I'm not completely sure. Don't quote me on this, but over 7 languages. Yeah.
hmm How many language credits do you have to take? Like,
You
is
have to
it for
take.
everybody or?
I
Yeah.
think you have to take 3 years on a minimum, or if you get to a certain level, I think 320 something. So for me, technically, I could quit Chinese now if I wanted to, but I want to take it for 11th grade too, because a lot of colleges require 3 years of language credit.
Okay,
So either way, you're probably just gonna take 3 years of languages no matter what, at least.
got it. Uh, s- One of the questions is about humanities and STEM at Exeter, which I think is actually pretty interesting because um, I don't know. It really depends on like what school, like each school, even for public schools, it's different, like on the focus. I went to a high school that was very focused on STEM. What is it like at Exeter?
Yeah, so I think basically all of these New England boarding schools are more humanities lenient. I mean, like, yeah, but I would say Exeter probably has the best balanced program in terms of like, because our math is like very, very like famous, and a lot. I know one of my students who applied to Exeter, he was like, math is his main passion, and he like really Exeter was his favorite because of the math program, and he actually got into Exeter last year too, which was really great for him. But um, yeah, I think Exeter has a really good STEM program as along with a humanities program, and it's it's well balanced. I would still say we probably place a higher emphasis on humanities, but our STEM programs are very, very excellent. We have like over like over like I would say like 10 computer sciences program, sorry, computer science courses to choose from. Our math is very, very famous. Our previous teacher, previous math like famous math coach from last year, he actually was the coach for the U.S. Math Olympiad team. So I mean, obviously our program was definitely pretty strong. We have a bunch of, I guess, almost math recruits who are like incredible. Last year we had a student who placed gold in the math and IMO. So
Mhm.
I say our STEM is pretty strong, but we still lean a little towards humanities, just a little bit.
Okay, so I guess Exeter is, would you say it's an exception or it's just one of the leading examples of like having a relatively balanced, but superb in both sides?
I mean, all these schools, like private schools, are definitely probably more superb than public schools in terms of everything.
Hmm.
But I would say Exeter definitely has one of the best balances in the country.
Hmm. Okay, okay, I like this question. So if you so now that you've been at Exeter for a little while now, if you could start all over with the knowledge that you have now, what do you think, what would you do differently? Or, knowing what you're doing going in?
That is actually a great question.
Mhm.
I feel like it's like the cliche interview question that's always asked, but it's always such a good question too. So
Mhm.
I'm really happy to answer it. I would say, I guess just to put myself out there more. Like,
Mhm.
for instance, like in my prep year, which is ninth grade, that's what we call ninth grade. We had a club night, and basically everyone I talked to said, "Oh, you should sign up for as many clubs as you can." We have like over 100 clubs, so I signed up for 17, and that sounds like a good thing, right? Because that's what people wanted. But I really showed up to only like 2 clubs.
Mhm.
So I think what I should have done more is just really tried all the clubs, because like a lot of clubs I just subscribed to the mailing list, and since like attendance was like not required, I could just not show up and I'd just be on the email list, right? So I think I would have just gone to more clubs. Yeah, just got myself out there more, just try to be a little more social. I am pretty social now, but if I just got that start, I think just, yeah, putting myself out there and exploring the school's resources.
Mhm.
But I'm very happy with my Exeter experience, and there's very little that I would change.
So one of these questions is asking about the different uh, education systems, so private versus public school, and they want us to briefly give some pros and cons so that they can compare the two systems. Let me think. How can we start off? I think one of the key differences is like the smaller classes and the teacher-student relationship. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the low, hold on, how do ratios work? Okay, so the low student to teacher ratio is really beneficial because you have basically study hours like
Mhm.
every day, like all the time almost. Because you literally live like, I don't know, like maybe in the same dorm where like a couple of minutes walking distance, like 3 minutes walking distance from your teachers. So you can really just like schedule like office hours whenever you want, as long as they're available and they're happy to do it. And most teachers are. So just the fact that teachers are so accessible, and the fact that they only teach like, I don't know, 3 dozen kids, 3 classes, or like 2 classes or 4 classes, it means that they can pay more attention to you. And this is just for all private schools, like versus public schools almost, not just for high school. So I think that's one of the biggest benefits for private schools, is that you get more individualized attention, and you have a better support system.
Do you think that most of the students at Exeter take advantage of that? Like, do they all try to schedule office hours with teachers? They all try to like talk during like lunch or something like that?
I'd say like half of us do.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair amount, maybe a little more, because but I think it's so underrated. Like I feel like everyone should go, and I should go more too. It's like great resource, and that's what happens at Exeter. Like you have like an abundance of resources
Mhm.
that it's like it feels guilty to not use all of it up.
So in public school, I think it's definitely more difficult to have that sort of relationship with your teacher. Um, but I think that it also like the
Depends on how
pro
you use
side of
it.
it is because oh it's a lot of students. It's like I think in my classes it would be 20 to 30 students per to one teacher. That's the ratio. I think sometimes it'd be over 30, so not so great. But the good side of that was most of the students didn't take the initiative. So if a student were to take the initiative into I don't know, talk to the teacher after class a lot, like they would leave a very good impression because that's just not what public school students do, you know? So um do you think that it's different because it's like an expectation to talk to teachers to like take the initiative in private schools, or is it like still it's just up to you and the teachers acknowledge that?
I think most of the time it's up to you. But a couple of teachers,
Mm.
like for instance, my English teacher, she requires you to do one office hour in the entire term. So
Mhm.
that's a exception. I would say most teachers, it's really up to you. Obviously, it's probably going to help if you do study hours, but it is like totally possible to get an A without doing study hours.
Gotcha. Going along with that, someone asked about teacher recommendations. I don't know if you've had to ask for any teacher recommendations yet, but I guess do you think like I don't know some tips for good teacher recommendations at Exeter?
I mean, I guess I could say that for middle school because I did have to ask for middle school
Mhm.
teacher recommendations because I mean I'm not applying to college yet.
Right.
But for middle school teacher recommendations, really just use those office hours, go talk to your teachers, be a good student, not just that you learn the material well, but you are inquisitive about it and you really care about what the teacher has to teach and what the teacher has to say. Because really, like for me, I guess I could almost call myself a teacher because I teach a couple classes at Edumit. But what I really noticed is the students' effort and just how much they care. And literally the smallest detail, like just saying thank you after class and just being polite and just being a kind person and just
Mhm.
acting how you would want your students to act if you were a teacher. Really, just place yourself in their shoes. Um, yeah, and I think they will give you good recommendations. And another thing is go to your teachers in person and ask them. Don't just like send them a text or like send them an email. It would be best to really go to the teacher and maybe even just like sitting down with them and talking about what you like about yourself and seeing if they have any questions about you for the recommendations would really help because it shows that number one, you care about what them and what they have to say about you, and number two, you just care about like being polite and just like you care about whatever you're applying to.
Got it. So it's like being a little more genuine and just, I don't know, working on yourself in general, right? And how you approach people. Uh, so someone really wants this question answered, but I'm not sure how much more you can provide because you already talked about it. But how do you make the most out of your time and resist distractions? Uh,
I think it's all habits. Once you build up a habit of just getting things done, I think I forgot the name of it, but there was this technique where you just be focused for like
Mhm.
30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then you just like take a break for like 5 minutes and you come back and you go. I think that's a really good method. I use that basically for each assignment. So I just like concentrate, finish the assignment, boom,
Mhm.
go like check my phone, do whatever, like go make a joke with a friend. And I come back and I go study. And and I go have like a 5 minute break. And I think that's pretty helpful. I could definitely be more disciplined in my implementation of it, but I think that's a good method. It's really just about building habits, honestly. Time management is about habits because like everyone knows basically what to do in their time. It's just that you don't actually do it because you're either too lazy or you just have bad habits. So yeah, just building good habits, being aware of it and caring about it. Just starting from like 0 all the way to 1 and then to 2 to 3. For instance, that method I was talking about, you could just start with 20 minutes, just 20 minutes of studying and then 5 minute break. and you slowly increase that to 25 and then 30 and then 35, 40. And before you know it, you can concentrate an hour without any distractions.
I think that's called the Pomodoro technique or something like that, right?
Pomodoro.
Pomodoro. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah. I don't know. I think definitely a lot of people at Princeton use it. Um, but it's not always easy to force yourself to just sit down, you know. But in 20 minutes, 25 minutes, it's pretty nice. I think it's definitely a good start for the person who ever asked the question here. Um, okay, so can you give us a little information about your like living conditions? So how many roommates you have? You have air conditioning, for example. For instance, I don't have air conditioning because it's just luck of the draw, and I had some bad luck, you know. So I don't have air conditioning. So can you just talk a little bit about that? And it's like, I don't know, the floors or just like if you have an RCA, something like that.
Yeah, so I'm living in like the most newly renovated dorm, which is very lucky of me. Really, I think a lot of these questions that people ask, really, it really depends dorm on dorm. But for me, like my dorm is literally like I would almost say almost perfect, you know. I have all the furniture I need. I have a drawer to put my clothes in. I have a closet, like a walk-in closet. I have like another like shelf to put like a lot of stuff. Like, it's like a 4 floor shelf, and I have a table, a desk. That's really all I need in terms of AC. Well, I have heating, which is very great. I think every dorm has heating on campus. I'm not completely sure about that. Uh, I have lights. Overall, I really like my living conditions. I do not have a roommate right now, but you know, you can choose to have a roommate if you want to. Um, and what else? So on my floor, there's around like 10 or like 11 people, and we share one bathroom. The bathroom has 2 stalls and 2 showers,
Okay,
2 sinks.
that sounds a lot like college.
But I think it works. Like there's really no big complaints. Like I would obviously like a private bathroom, but there's no instance where I'm like, oh my god, like these are terrible conditions. Like I'm pretty happy with, I'm pretty good with what I got.
Mhm. Um, do you think boarding school is suitable for an introvert? And if so, what do you think can help them thrive in that sort of environment where everyone's very discussion based, where everyone is better for people to put forward their opinions?
I think as a more as a slightly more outrovert, extroverted
Mm.
person, I I'm not completely sure about that. But what I will say is I think really introversion is about like not willing to socially interact, but I think on a hardness table, if it's for learning, I feel like people would speak to, and just, you
Mhm.
know, as long as you believe in what you're saying and it adds to like the group solving the question, I feel like people would generally say what's on their mind, and you know, you have to obviously be like academically capable of getting in. But once you get in, even if you're like shy in social settings, because like the definition of the introvert is like you kind of like don't feel as energetic around big social groups, like even if you're not that extroverted, my bad, you will still find the urge to talk because I mean, when you're trying to solve a problem, you're trying to solve a problem, and like you don't really notice like, oh my god, are they looking at me or are they judging me? You're just trying to solve a problem, and just you know, in general, to be more extroverted, I think it's all about confidence. I mean, I can't be sure about that, but based on what I've observed, some of my students are also pretty introverted, but just having confidence in what you say and believing yourself is the most important thing, and recognizing that your voice is your power. Like if you don't speak, you won't be heard.
Do you think have you seen anybody or like have you yourself experienced like I don't know becoming more outspoken at Exeter because of the Harkness table?
I think yeah, I think I've become more confident in my speech, um,
Mhm.
because I've just number one, I've just become more knowledgeable, so I'm like able to speak better. But also, yeah, like I I know the value of my opinion, and you know,
Mhm.
I'm not always right, but you know, I try my best, and you know, I'm not fearful of failure. So I've always been pretty social, and I've always kind of liked to speak. But now I just like I it's more not so much as I speak more, but I am able to speak to more people. Like for instance, a group setting of 200 participants, like I am able to have the confidence to speak.
Got it. Okay, so let's do one last question. This one's pretty all-encompassing. So
And
it's
right
just
before that, just
Mhm.
I would really love it if you guys visited the website. I spent way too many hours working on it. If you guys just check it out, just type in edumit.org, it would really mean a lot to me. All right, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, everyone who's watching right now, please take a look. Eric put in a lot of time and effort, and we're just really glad that he's here to talk at our webinar today. So this question, I'm gonna try to combine two questions. So this is just about your application process. What do you think is like the most important part of the application process, or what do you think, based on your knowledge of like the admissions officers, like what do they look at most? Like your GPA, your personal traits, your academics achievements, your I don't know, sports achievements or music achievements or chess achievements, or I don't know, the interview. What do you think is like the most important? How would you rank it? What would you say?
I'd say for everyone it's slightly different because there's sports recruits, there are people who get in their own way. But in general, I think the biggest bar that Exeter has is academic. I wouldn't academic potential. That's what I want to call it.
Academic
It's
potential.
not just it's not don't think that if you get 1 A-, you're not gonna get into Exeter. It's really not that. I think Exeter, they have your transcript, to obviously look at your grades, and they take SSATs to know how well you do in academics at Exeter. But
Mhm.
really they also look for your mentality, your habits, your mindset towards academics. So to see whether or not, even if you're maybe not the strongest in your grade, to see whether or not you can become academically strong. So I think that's the most important thing, because Exeter first is a school. Second it's like it has sports and clubs, but really firstly Exeter is a school, and Exeter would not like its students to be failing. So I think the academics is a big bar that people need to pass, like basically before anything else.
Okay. Eric, sorry. Can we switch to the VisWise QR code?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah. All right. Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah, Eric, thank you so much for coming today. I think your presentation and all the questions we answered were very helpful for our audience. There's still a lot of questions that we didn't get to. I know that, but sorry, our time is limited. We're already over time. But if you have any other questions, please email Eric. Please visit his website, let him know. And yeah, thank you so much for attending tonight.
Yeah, again, thanks to everyone for attending. Thanks to VisWise and AFI, and special thanks to you, Philip, for hosting and really carrying me.
No, thank you so much. Yeah. All right,
Okay.
everyone. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you, Philip, and thank you, Eric, for bringing us such a fantastic webinar. And thank you for everybody attending tonight. 我现在 switch to Chinese. 大家的话呢，因为我们10点半的话呢，我们大概就会结束这一个 webinar 了。然后大家如果有问题的话呢，我们A5 我们有一个美高的一个申请的一个专属的讨论群，大家可以扫现在目前这一个屏幕上的二维码，是我们的小助手，然后呢他可以把你们加到我们的这个微信群里面。然后刚刚我在这个 chat box 里面也留了我的个人的这个微信号，所以你们也可以加我个人的微信号，我把你们就是拉进去。然后如果有更多的问题的话呢，刚刚 Eric 也分享了他的这个 contact information， 大家也可以直接和 Eric 取得联系。好的，那非常感谢今天的speaker Eric and our moderator Philip。好的，那祝大家晚安，拜拜。
谢谢大家。